Happy Sunday, everyone. How is everyone today? I know, once again, it's kind of a rainy day here in Portland, Oregon, where I'm at. What's the weather? What's the weather report there?
It is finally cool here in Delaware on the East Coast. Listen, if you guys have been watching the show for the past couple weeks, I've been constantly complaining that it is too hot.
Yeah.
This weekend it is finally cool. The Halloween weather is setting in. I'm getting a little spooky, as you can see here. You know, we got 1 week left of spooky season. Except JK, it's spooky all year round. But it's finally feeling the way it should be, okay?
Yeah. I know that you got the chance to go to Baltimore Comic-Con this week. How was that?
It was very exciting. So Baltimore Comic-Con is like my favorite and biggest show. It's pretty much like the first real Comic-Con that I've been to since lockdown and since COVID. So it was very exciting to be back. Tons of creators there, tons of comics there, a copious amount of dumb bitch money spent. But even more exciting, you know, than meeting with publishers and creators and, you know, all of my friends. Was getting to see people from the YouTube community for the first time ever. So Brandon, who is Comics King, I saw him in the chat earlier. He was there this weekend. We linked up, said the good old howdy, ran around for a little bit. But even more exciting, at least for me, sorry, Brandon, but I got to see Bearded Comic Bro. We had a Bearded Comic Bro, That Comic Girl team up special.
A Yara Floor fan club
Yara Floor fan club reunion for the first time. Is it a reunion or is it just a meetup for the first time? But it was so exciting to see other YouTubers there, other journalists. I mean, if that's what we're all calling ourselves now, but it was just great to see people that we've interacted with for like the past year and a half and finally put names to faces. For me, it was like I was meeting up with people and I wouldn't call them by their name. I'd call them by their username because I'm bad with names. I'd be like, oh, that's Comics Kings. Oh, that's Fantastic Girl. That's Bearded Comic Bro. And my partner who's there is like, you don't know any of their real names. And I'm like, I know some of them, but I don't remember all of them. Brandon announced that he is still listening from the con. I hope you are having a fantastic final day at Baltimore Comic-Con. Please say hi to all of the wonderful people that are there, but especially to my boy Tom King.
Well, that is excellent. I know that I went to Rose City Comic-Con a couple months ago now, but it just sounds like Baltimore Comic-Con was just chock full of creators, chock full of booths to spend that dumb bitch money at. And
it's a very comic centric con, and I think that is why I gravitate more towards that, because I've been to Keystone Comic-Con, I've been to Awesome Con, I've been to East Coast Comic-Con, but I always find myself being like, Baltimore's the one I want to do each and every year. Every year, the guest list, you know, you have those people that are local to the area that always show up. So Cliff Chang is a constant reoccurrence, Frank Cho, Tom King. But then you get to see some really cool people show up that, you know, you might not ever get to meet, like Gail Simone or Becky Cloonan. And, you know, it's always just a blast to see who's going to be there next year.
Yeah. I feel like cons are making, you know, as COVID eventually will become endemic and not pandemic. And I think that cons are slowly returning. So hoping to see in the next year or two, really see cons come back to life. Well, I do want to go ahead and say hello to a couple people who are in the chat this morning, because there's a couple people here, but hello to Sam from Sam's Tangled Web. Have a good show, ladies. DC Patrol, happy Sunday. I hope the books treated you well. They did. This week was a pretty solid week.
Listen, I don't think I'm going to choose violence this week. I don't think there's going to be, I mean, there might be a slight violence because I feel like there's always violence, but I even was telling you backstage going through the books this week, it was a pretty good week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think that today I'm going to let the violence choose me instead of choosing the violence.
That's a good one. I like that.
Hello to Remy Q Studios. Hello all. Azores Tiger Comics. And then our friend Comic Book G-Spot. I did get to hang out with him last night. We talked about a little movie that came out called Dune. You can watch the replay
A little 2.5
hour movie based on one of the wildest series in sci-fi. I could literally and do talk for hours about Dune.
And she
Um,
will.
and I will. I will. Hello to John's Comics with Kids. Probably my favorite show on YouTube. I love John. I love his kids. So how much of today's show will be spent discussing Dune? I'm gonna try to keep it to a minimum.
A
Yeah.
minimum, she says.
A minimum. So maybe not more than normal, maybe a little bit more than normal. Hello to Niall. Hello, everyone. Ace, iconic faves. Thank you, Ace. I appreciate that. They're great. Hello to Shane. And hello to my friend Al Matra. Thank you so much for being here, friend. Back from Florida. I'm creating comics while black. Says cheers, ladies and everyone.
Howdy.
Another Portland friend, Stapled Spine Horror Zine. Good morning, team. Thank you for being here. John Stout, good morning, all. Let's see here. James Phelps, good afternoon, Mars and Jen. And officially, Unofficial Geek. Hey, everyone, happy Sunday. And then Comic Book Therapy. Hello, ladies. Hey, ladies. So, you know, I feel like we do start off the show every week with like comic book news, and there's been a lot of it. What's on your radar for comic book news this week?
Oh my goodness, there's so much, and it doesn't even feel like, because as we all know, we all took a little bit of recharge break last week, as everybody should. But you know, I thought that there was going to be a lot between the 2 weeks, but when I'm looking back at my notes, it felt like a lot of it happened within the span of 1 week, which is absolutely insane to me. So starting right off the bat, Why the Last Man, which felt like it was in development hell for years, finally found its spot on FX and Hulu after season 1. It unfortunately announced that it will not be going forward with season 2 and has hit a cancellation block. That being said, Brian K. Vaughan has already said on his Instagram that this is not the end of Why the Last Man, that they have spent way too much time culminating the series and modernizing it for fans, which I can confirm that they have, because I actually was a huge fan of the show. I'm a little bit behind right now, but even being somebody who didn't read the original source material, I was really enjoying it. But Brian K. Vaughan announced that this isn't the end for Why the Last Man, that they are hoping that another network will pick it up, and that we'll get to see more from the series. And I'm hoping that's the case, because you know, it's a really, really great show. I feel like you watched a couple episodes of Why the Last Man.
You know, I feel like whenever it got announced that it was being canceled, I'm like, fuck, it's my fault, because I watched a couple episodes and then never went back. And then I think like just a couple other things came up, like Squid Games came up, and I haven't finished that yet. And there was a couple other things, and of course now Dune is on HBO Max, and I'll be watching that for the next 30 days on HBO Max, like just nonstop.
And it's a 2.5-hour movie, so that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time. So I feel like I saw that news and I'm like, fuck, that's my fault. Like, did I do that?
And it's
did I
crazy
cancel?
Because they didn't say that it was the lack of views that led to its cancellation, because from all of the statistics that we've seen, Why the Last Man has been doing pretty well with views and with how people feel about the series. It's been great for both audiences and critics alike. So maybe there's something underlying that we're not seeing that's going on with Why the Last Man, but I hope that this isn't the last that we see of it.
I agree, and I think that this is such a rich story to tell. I think that one of the things that was hard for me was watching this show coming out of a pandemic. I think that was the only thing that was a little bit rough for me to watch. But I do think that this show, especially the way that they modernized it from the way that the comic book was, I really think that this was a great show. I think that they did a really good job sticking to the source material, as well as, like you said, making it modern for modern viewers, for sure.
Absolutely. And John Stout says below that there's a rumor that it could be going to HBO Max, which makes sense. And it does make complete sense, because HBO Max, Warner Brothers, you know, they have not control, but they own DC Comics. And as we all know, Why the Last Man was published by Vertigo Comics, which was an imprint of DC Comics. So
rest in peace, Vertigo.
Rest in peace, Vertigo. Every time we talk about Vertigo, I feel like my heart just cracks a little bit, because I miss that publishing. So I miss it. But it makes sense, and HBO Max would be a great great spot for it. Honestly, it would fit perfectly. Other news coming out this week. So comics have been getting like a little tricky. It feels like the comics game is always changing, but over the past couple weeks and things that have been going on, with the paper shortage, it's now been announced that there is a bags and board shortage as well, which I don't know about you, but I felt like I was going into shops looking for bags, looking for boards, and I could either never find them or they were on back order, and now it's starting to make a lot of sense.
So I actually order my bags and boards in batches of 200.
Of course you do.
So I have a rich stock of bags and boards, thankfully. And I just ordered yesterday, I ordered 300 more bags and boards. So I feel like it reminds me of the beginning of the pandemic when everyone was like, where am I going to get my toilet paper from? And I'm like, I've got a bunch of 90s comics, man. Like, I'm set on toilet paper, but the bags and boards shortage feels like it's been slowly creeping up this entire time, because I remember back in maybe like May or June, I would go into shops and they would be out, and now it's like a serious issue. So I'm really glad that I learned to stock up early on, but I think that this paper shortage is also really affecting comic books as well. Like, I feel like things, maybe it's just my perception, but I feel like especially at DC, there's been a lot of comics that have been pushed back, and it's because of this like global supply chain issue that's going on.
And we've also seen that with Marvel too, with titles like Moon Knight. And there was a couple of titles that also, saw the pushback, and a lot of these people that when they're asked about it, these publishers, when they're asked about it, their only response that they can give is, well, it's the paper shortage, basically. So
yeah,
it's getting a little scary out there, folks. I'm not gonna lie. It's a little scary right now.
I think so for those of you who don't know, I think it was in like, and this is me like getting a little bit political, but in 2018 China stopped buying our plastic. So for those of you who know that, like, when things get recycled, China buys our plastic, and they stopped doing that in like 2017 or 2018. They stopped doing that. So in my opinion, what I think that we need to do is we need to like ramp up, and we need to make a national like recycling program. And can bags and boards come from recyclable materials? Like,
I don't see why not.
That's my fix. Tune in next week for how Jennifer wants to fix the country.
How Jen wants to save the world.
How Jen wants to save the world through comic books. So anyways, I do think that, is that a possibility? I don't know the logistics of that and whatever, but I do think that it would be a ripe time to see what we can do to make sure that those things that can be recycled get recycled. And I don't know.
It's very possible.
Speaking of like, maybe like, I don't know if this is due to the same logistical supply chain errors, paper shortage, but Image announced, to me, this is like some of the biggest news. They announced that they are no longer doing second prints.
Any printings, third printings, fourth printings, fifth printings. And it's kind of crazy to think, because it feels like lately, within the past year, feels like every single number one has gotten some sort of second and or third printing. We've seen titles like Department of Truth and Stray Dogs where they have gone on to 5, 6, 7 printings, and it's insanity. But it feels like even titles like Two Moons, I think, had a second printing. You had titles like Philadelphia. I mean, well, Philadelphia deserved a second printing, but like, just like really strange titles that you didn't think sold nearly as well as they did, got second printings. I mean, even what's the furthest place from here, which isn't even out yet. That's not coming out until November. That already got announced for a second printing.
Oh, wow. But I think they said in January they're going to stop.
I think they said in January is when they're stopping. I think anything that might have already had a planned release for a second printing, like, for example, what's the furthest place from here? I think that will still get its, planned further printing, but nothing else will be getting a second printing. And it kind of like, It makes me wonder what this is going to do to the market. Are people now going to be buying up even more copies of these number ones for the sake of, if this book spikes, I have it. And it's going to create like a shortage and books are going to spike. And I don't know. It's really, really weird. It's going to be really weird not getting emails from Kat Salazar every
Cat
week being
Salazar, like,
this book has gone to second and third printing. So,
oh, but hold on. So here's the thing. With the Cat Salazar image email. So for those of you who don't know, Cat Salazar, who I assume is a lovely, lovely person.
Lovely person. We love Kat.
Yeah. Sends out emails for image, basically like their PR marketing person, and we get emails from them. And it's like the dogs are barking, stray dogs goes to second printing, or like
what are we gonna do without her puns?
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, part of me is like, okay, I could probably use like less emails in the inbox, but I'm gonna miss out on all of these puns for the comic books. So maybe that's what we can do. Maybe we can heal the world with recycling and with puns,
one step at a time.
Yeah. I do think that this will cause a spike in the market. I think that we're already seeing that a little bit, especially with indie titles. I think that you can almost always bet on getting a number one from an indie title, especially Image. I feel like that's been like my strategy for years, but especially with publishers like Boom and Aftershock and Vault Comics, I feel like always just buy number ones from these companies. But I think that, and here's for the, several people who are watching us, if you do not already pre-order your comic books, get yourself a damn pull list, get yourself a way to pre-order these books. If it's a book that you really, really want, love, and cherish, maybe order 2, because I know that's what I'm going to do with Saga. I'm going to ask for 2 on my pull list, maybe even 3 for books like Saga. So that would be my suggestion to everyone, is make sure you pre-order your books. You are definitely, if a book gets hot, you are not going to be able to rely on picking it up off the shelf this next year. Yep.
And especially because a lot of shops are also trying to get ahead of the game. They are pulling books off the shelf. Yeah. They are, marking up books or selling them on eBay, which is a shame. And unofficial geeks said it best, the only people that are really going to suffer from this are actual readers, because people are probably going to buy up multiple copies. So maybe don't do that. Maybe, if you want to buy an extra copy for a friend, or like you said, if it's a book that you absolutely cherish, that maybe you want one to read and one to, I guess, cherish and store, do that. But definitely remember that comics are for everyone. Everybody should be allowed to read the books they want to read and the books that they love. And of course, always, always, always pre-order these books at your local comic shop. Get ahead of the game before FOC, support your local LCS, and just, love comics, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Partner with your local comic book shop, and whether they do a pull list, like just a pen and paper pull list and, filing cabinet, or like my shop uses Comics Hub. So that's what I use to pre-order all my variants and things like that, which I'm so glad that I do, that now. So pre-order, make sure you have a pull list, do something, because you cannot count on buying these off the shelf.
No, you cannot.
Yep. What other news do you have?
The only other thing that I have to sort of round everything up is earlier in the year, right before summer, I don't quite remember when the announcement was made, but it was announced that Marvel would be pulling away from Diamond Distribution and would start doing their distribution through Penguin Books, and we are now starting to finally see some of that take effect. Penguin, I believe Penguin right now has access to a lot of the Marvel trades right now. I don't believe that they've touched on the single issues yet, but we are seeing a lot of complaints from local comic book shops because a lot of boxes are coming in damaged. A lot of books are coming in damaged. And listen, I never thought that as a shipping distributor you could get worse in quality than Diamond, but Penguin's managed to do it. Penguin, I think, currently is ranked number 1 in terms of the worst distribution company. Boxes are coming in all torn up. Boxes are coming in barely packaged. damaged, and
And
it's just
the way that books are typically shipped with Diamond is that there is like some kind of buffer. So like for instance, if a book is like packed in a box, there's normally like some type of buffer so that if like damage comes into the box, it's not like directly hitting the comic. But it looks like, and that's with Diamond, but it looks like with Penguin Random House,
there's nothing.
that is not the case. So a box gets like dinged, and so do the comics.
And I don't think they just get dinged. I think they're getting like caved in, chewed
Yeah.
up.
Hmm.
It's bad. I've seen there are some photos out there. I don't like to say go to Bleeding Cool because I don't believe in some of their practices. But Bleeding Cool actually has a really great article on this. Has a lot of really great photos. I don't want to say great photos, but a lot of horrifying photos. So if you want to see,
Yeah.
if you want to see it for yourself, head over there or just I guess pop it into Google or into Twitter. It is. Oh, I'm just it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And we don't see
No.
this from Lunar, which is what DC Comics is currently using.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going on. There was always this theory that the reason why Diamond did it is because, comics really didn't have anything else and they didn't have a say. And it was almost like they were being held hostage. But seeing that
Yeah.
Penguin is doing the same thing and arguably
Worse.
worse, and they're supposed to kind of be this white knight who came in to save the companies.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. A lot of comic shops out there are not very, very happy.
No, and I think that once again, this goes back into because there's ways for the comic shops, they can go ahead and say, hey, these books got damaged, like I'll get a refund and whatever. But especially when it comes to um, people who pre-order, if 50, like at some shops, it was like 50% of books were
We're
arguably like
damaged.
really damaged. So thinking about the logistics of the global supply chain, and there's a paper shortage, and companies are probably sending fewer books, and so making sure that one, you have a pull list. I'm sure that even at that point, if books are coming in damaged, comic shops can't fulfill their pulls because sometimes they don't order more to put on the shelves.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors going on right now that are I don't want to say hurt. Well, it is hurting in some spots, but a lot of things disrupting comic books as we know it. Bags and board shortage, Image not doing second printings, Penguin and whatever it is that they're doing right now. Dark Horse and their paper quality being weird apparently.
It's so funny. I haven't noticed a difference, but I've heard this from several people
Mhm.
that Dark Horse's paper quality, and I'm really, really curious about this. I'm like thinking, I'm like, what Dark Horse book have I recently? Um, so I do have one here from last week, and
Mhm.
I don't necessarily notice a difference, but maybe I'll go back
Maybe
and
there is. Maybe there is a difference. I see a
comparison.
little bit of weird printing, but that's about it. But it's just kind of insane to me that, all of these factors that could have been spread up and broken out maybe over the course of a year or a couple years, it seems like everything's happening at once.
Yep.
So, I don't know what that says about what's going on, but we'll get through this. We're comic
Right.
fans. If we were
Yeah.
able to get through a pandemic, if we were able to get through Diamond shutting down and a halt on all new releases for what 3, 4, 5 weeks,
Yeah.
I think we can do this.
Yeah. If we can deal with, comic shops not getting comics for a couple weeks, like I think the most important thing, and my heart will always go to the comic shops, like make sure that you're supporting them, make sure
Mhm.
that, we'll always say this, pre-order your books, have a pull list at your shop, get into a good relationship, because I guarantee you, if you have a good relationship with your shop, then if they know, like, okay, 50% of the books that came in were damaged, I'm going to prioritize the people who I give those books to. If you have a good relationship with your shop, you're probably going to be one of the 50% of people who actually get their books if you have a good
Yep.
relationship with your shop. So that's just my perspective. Formerly working at a shop, I know that it would be like, I know this person loves this book. Like if we were shorted, I know that I need to put this into that person's box. So
100%.
what other news do we
I
have?
think that's really all that we have. I think now it's time to get into everybody's favorite part of the show, and I think it's time to finally do what we do best and talk comics.
Let's talk comics. Last week, We didn't do a show.
We did not do a show.
This is mine from this week.
Okay, that's you from this week. This is me from this week. With an extra book here that, you know,
Yeah.
a little extra book here. But part of the reason, you know, other than of course taking our little recharge and whatnot, as we should, last week was I texted you and I'm like, Jen, I have one book for this week.
Yeah.
Well, how am I going to talk for 2 hours about one book? I mean, listen, I could probably have done it, but.
And I also just want to say really quick, and I haven't bagged and boarded them from last week. These are mine from last week. So whenever I think that I messaged you and I'm like, I have like so many books that I ordered, and you're like, how? And I'm like,
why? What?
And I was like, how do you only have one? Because I have like 20 here. But.
And then you had a massive week this week because you texted me on, what was it, Monday?
And I was like,
the text was, the real stuff hasn't come in yet, but I apparently already have 6 or 7 Marvel and DC trades sitting at the shop. And I was like,
I think what it was is that like I had 17 books that had come in with DC and like 2 or 3 Marvel trades. And I'm like, that's a lot. And then by the time I actually got to the shop, it was like 40 something. So
crazy.
I've got books to talk about.
And Azorius Tiger Comics is calling me out right now. All right. It's over there. Okay. I'm not going to go get it because I should have gotten it. We're just going to, this right here. I officially finally own a copy of HOXPOX.
We did it.
I own a copy of HOXPOX, everybody. I feel like I should go get it. Give me 1 second.
Like you should too.
Give me 20 seconds. I know where it is.
I'm really glad that, and I just want to give like a big shout out and thank you to the comic book community for assisting me with pressuring, bullying Mars into getting HOXPOX, or at least to being open and receptive to the idea of reading it. I don't know how long it'll take, but I'm really excited for us to read HOXPOX. I know that she said that she's already read the first issue. I've read this 2 or 3 times now, and I'm really excited to go ahead and read it again because it's a really good story. And
we did it.
We did it. Y'all,
are you heathens happy? I officially own a copy of HOXPOX thanks to the one and only Jennifer, because Jennifer's like, here's money. Buy yourself a HOXPOX. It was that Arrested Development moment, you know, when she gives her son the money and it's like,
go buy yourself a Star Wars.
A HOXPOX. So
yeah,
I own HOXPOX. I actually did start reading HOXPOX, y'all. So I'm about 10 pages in. 10 pages in, and I don't know what's going on, but we'll get there. So I think Jen and I decided, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. I'm gonna attempt to maybe read at least 1, maybe 2 issues a week, maybe. But, and excuse me, I own lots of X books. You just don't see them. But this apparently is the most important one for me to own. So I officially own HOXPOX.
It's funny because I feel like you've read stuff like Marauders, and you've read stuff and you read the first trade of Dawn of X, which is really confusing because it's like the first issue of like all the new titles.
No, I didn't read
after this.
I didn't read that. I read the first volume of X-Force for Dawn of X.
Okay.
I've read the first volume of New Mutants for Dawn of X. I've read the first volume of Marauders for Dawn of X. And then I've read other X titles in between. Like, I was actually telling Brandon Comics King and Bearded Comic Bro, I was like, because they were joking that, you know, Jen's trying to change me into an X-Men fan. I've kind of always been an X-Men fan, guys.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite books, Marvel, DC, or otherwise, is X-Force Sex and Violence, which you haven't even read.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to force you to read it. So listen, I love the X-Men. I don't like Jonathan Hickman, okay? But I'm trying my best. The fans demanded it, so
give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want and read HOXPOX. So I have HOXPOX.
So we're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So comics of this week, of last week, of every week in between that is not HOXPOX. what did you read? What do you want to start with? Anything
Ooh.
picking at your brain? Anything lingering on your brain?
I know that I want to ask the chat right now, because I know typically we either start off with Marvel or DC, or perhaps we start with indies. I want to give the people what they want, and I want to know, do we start with indies? Do we start with Marvel or DC?
I'm warning you guys, if you start with Marvel, I only have one book.
Surprise!
Surprise! Can you guess which book it is? It's an X book. So don't tell me I don't read X books, guys, because I do. But yeah, what do you guys want to see? Marvel, DC, indie. DC. We can play a little back and forth.
Yeah.
Save indie for last.
Save indie for last. Okay.
We're being told DC.
Okay, we're going to start with DC.
We're being told DC, so let me separate. I have 4 books for DC this week.
Okay.
I have 4.
I think I have 5 or 6, but we'll see.
Oh my goodness. I lied. I have 5 books for DC. Oops. There's one book that I really, really want to talk about, but I kind of want to save that as our last DC book to talk about. You already know which book.
I do.
So maybe I'm just going to pick one right off the top.
Go for it. Pick one.
Nightwing. Nightwing number 85. Okay. I know I said I wasn't going to choose violence, but there is something mini ultra violence that I want to talk about with this.
The violence chose you today.
The violence chose me today. So Nightwing 85, this is a continuation of the Fear State event that's going on with all the Bat titles. We talked about this book last month, how we both really, I don't think you had read it, but you had heard some stuff. Issue 84 was extremely weak. Everybody agreed because it was an event. It felt extremely weak. This is not the case with Nightwing 85. Nightwing 85 I actually really, really enjoyed. It wasn't nearly as strong as that first arc we saw from Tom Taylor, but it definitely grounded us and it brought back what we loved about the Nightwing run, and that was these really interpersonal character moments.
Yes.
If I'm being honest, this felt like a Batgirl issue. It was not a Nightwing issue. It was a Batgirl issue.
It really, really was. Because it felt like it was told from her perspective.
It was. It was very much told from her perspective. I also love the fact that we're seeing her back in a more modern Burnside outfit. So we're taking a lot of the themes of Burnside, the purple and the yellow, and we're, updating it and making it a little bit older, because the Burnside outfit was a lot more hip, a lot more young, and that's okay because that's the audience we were gearing towards. But they made it so that way that outfit still fit in with the rest of the Bat family. And I really like that because in Rebirth, we saw her go back to like a really weird blue and yellow, and it didn't work. I didn't like it. This was a really great book. I feel like you could even read this without reading the prior issue or without reading any sort of Fear State. It's very simple. Somebody has hacked into the Oracle mainframe. They're taking it down. Barbara goes to the person she trusts most, which is Dick Grayson, and they have to kind of shut down a secondary computer that they have to do manually. It's very simple, very easy to read. And I'd be fine if I would. We've seen Barbara Gordon in a lot of the other issues. I wouldn't mind seeing a Batgirl Nightwing team-up book.
Even if it was like a one-shot, I would love to see that.
I mean, this is that one-shot. If
that is true.
This is that one-shot. And this actually surprisingly set up for the Becky Cloonan Batgirl series, which we are seeing coming soon. So it's a very good issue. I really like this one. I take back my comment. I don't have any violence about this book. It's another book on this list. But I really like this one.
And like you said, there's some really sweet moments in this. And the great thing about Nightwing, like this title, is that there's these interpersonal moments. And with this fear toxin that gets released, both of them end up having this moment where they're like, what do you fear the most? And it's like basically losing each other.
Yeah.
Tear.
No, it was good. It was very great. Also, stapled spine horizon. That's kind of goldfish brain.
That's okay.
Next week we have a show and it is on Halloween. Are we doing anything for Halloween, Jen?
I think we should. And I feel like most like one of the reoccurring topics that happens on our show is like we have that conversation of, is that monster DTF? I feel like that's a pretty big like conversation topic in the show. So I feel like that's just a reoccurring theme. So like, how do we have another like horror monster comics?
I think we might not necessarily have anything like, because spoiler alert, I have a very fun Halloween a Halloween recommended reading list coming out on my channel
Yeah.
either today or tomorrow, depending on how fast I can edit. But I think that we definitely will, in the vein of Halloween, in the spirit of Halloween, because you know, as you can tell, at least I am a huge Halloween head.
Yeah.
I think we should maybe pick a list of 5 books that we really like, and talk about them on top of our picks from the week. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's something like we can do something. We can throw something together.
I think it'll be fun.
Excellent. So that was our first DC book. What else you got for DC?
Our first DC book. Speaking of horror, Refrigerator Full of Heads came back. Well, not came back because was it late 2019? We saw Basket Full of Heads. It was the first of the Hill House Comics Joe Hill imprint, which it's back. It's been gone for 2 years, but it's back. This one is not written by Joe Hill. This one is written by Rio Ewers. It's done by Tom Fowler, but this is like a direct sequel almost. Either direct sequel. No, it is a direct sequel to Basket Full of Heads. That being said, you can read this without reading Basket Full of Heads. I like this one.
Wow.
I like this one, and here's why I liked it. I have talked about Basket Full of Heads. I don't know if I've talked about it on this channel before, but I've been very vocal about my feelings on that book on Twitter, on my own channel. That when that book debuted, I absolutely loved the concept of it. I loved the idea of going back to that sort of 80s slasher vibe.
Yeah.
But my glaring problem with that whole series was it was very white. Very, very white. And in this book, one of our main characters is a woman of color. So at least publishers are out there listening, because I know that was a big complaint with a lot of people who had read Basket Full of Heads, was that the book was too white. And throwing in one token person of color, you're not doing much, but you're doing something. So I can at least appreciate that. But I really like this. So Basket Full of Heads, if you don't know, was about a girl who fought off a bunch of people with a mystery magical axe. But the thing is when you got killed with the axe, you were basically still alive. So like she would chop off heads and the heads would still be talking and, you know, conversing with her. In Refrigerator Full of Heads, there is also a dagger. Apparently there are multiple weapons that have this same effect, and this one kind of focuses on that while also having some of the events of the first book come into play. And again, it's still that vein of like 80s pulp horror, and I am very interested to see where the rest of the series goes.
I'm really...
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it, but maybe that's because I tried Basket Full of Heads and didn't like it. And then I went into this feeling like I was confused, feeling like I had to have read it. And so I felt like I was a little bit lost. I do feel like I want to go back and give this one a try because you have good things to say about it. I know Will, on like our Friday night, he had really good things to say about it. But I really did feel like I was a little bit lost and didn't really like this one.
I will say this one can be a little quick. It really throws us right into it.
Maybe that's why.
And I feel like Basket Full of Heads also did that as well. But I don't know. As somebody who just appreciates pulp horror, it's very simple. And for my goopy goblin brain, you know, if it's simple, then I'm happy. So I don't think I will necessarily be adding it to my pool list, but when it does come to trade, I'll definitely be reading it, because again, I did like Basket Full of Heads. It was too white. No.
Too white. That's like a very, very I could say that about like every book.
Every book. Yeah.
One of the other books that I got, I don't know if you happen to pick this one up, and I'm actually going to do this one as like a, there's going to be a couple here for this one. But this last week, we also saw Wonder Woman Day. So it's 80 years of Wonder Woman. So a couple of like free books came out. So Tempest Tossed came out. We also got to see this one. I think it's just Wonder Woman Day special, and then this one, Diana, Princess of the Amazon. So 3 very different stories. They were both really cute. Or this one specifically was really cute. And let me see here. My favorite of them, I think, was Tempest Tossed, and I think that had to do with Layla Del Duca. Their artwork was just absolutely fantastic. But I also did, the main title I wanted to talk about was Nubia. Nubia and the Amazons. It was wonderful. I do wish, because this was done by Leah Williams and Vita Ayala, and I really wish that Layla Del Duca had done the artwork from this. I felt like maybe not necessarily the artwork, but the colors suffered in this book a little bit. It felt too muddy, where the artwork in this just felt a lot more impactful. But anyways, I thought Nubia was a fantastic story. I felt like it was a great entrance into like setting up the world building. You got a chance to read this one?
I did. I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Ooh.
So this actually sets up. We are seeing. It was announced this past weekend, with DC Fandom, that we are seeing a whole new stage for Wonder Woman, and that is the Trial of Amazon. So we're going to be seeing all of our favorite Wonder Ladies together: Nubia, Yara Flora, Artemis, Diana herself, and this is kind of the prelude to it. I was very excited for Nubia to get her own series. It's been long overdue. The creative team attached to it with Vita Ayala on it, it's like a dream come true. Like, honestly, you couldn't have picked a better writer on that. That being said, as I've stated in my own Wonder Woman recommended reading video, Wonder books can be very fucking intimidating and very hard to grind and get through. And I was very worried that this is what was going to happen with Nubia. And actually, I left it as one of the last books that I read for this week.
Ooh.
But I found myself sucked into it and so engrossed into it, because right off the bat, we are introduced to a concept of the Well of Souls.
Yes, this well where people spring out from it. Like it sounds like
reincarnated.
They reincarnate. So they die in the land of men and then get reincarnated without memories into
and it's usually
the mascara.
It's usually violent deaths that we can assume are also by the hands of men. So obviously these are women that, you know, have faced trauma and horror and sorrow. And I immediately texted my best friend Amelia, because my best friend Amelia is the Wonder Woman fanatic. Like, she knows everything about Wonder Woman, every little piece about Wonder Woman. She had a whole podcast called The Themyscira Agenda, where each week she would kind of break down different eras of Wonder Woman and different storylines. And I was like, the Well of Souls, is this a new thing, or is this something that has been around and now it's being modernized again? And she's like, it was something that apparently was introduced in the George Perez run of Wonder Woman, but it sounds like they are starting to kind of bring it in as more of a focus. The idea that Nubia herself came from the Well of Lost Souls. And from what I understood of it in the beginning, is it was on the same day that Diana was born. And in Wonder Woman lore and history, there was always this weird concept that they're sisters, like actual sisters, but it's like, how? And they could never really explain that. So I feel like this kind of helps bridge that gap that we've seen.
Yeah. I think that also, I do want to highlight the 2 writers on this, Leah Williams and Vita Ayala. I do think that the team up with them, I think, are going to do a fantastic job of that, like, sisterhood and like explaining that, because of course Diana has this really rich history and Nubia has been almost an afterthought.
And it feels like we are finally incorporating her into
Yeah.
the world, into the story, and creating her own sort of story and lore, as well as we see that she is now currently Queen of the Amazons. But my favorite part about this issue, and I knew about this before I read it, and I was curious how they were going to introduce it, is the idea that trans women are women on Themyscira.
Hmm.
Because it's something that, me and Amelia have always bounced off, and it's like, well, obviously in our eyes, yes, trans women are women. They should be considered Amazons, but no writer has ever actually come out and said it or even had that sort of discussion. And in this, they have this sort of ceremony for the women who have come from the Well of Souls. And one of the big things is you get to name yourself and choose what your name is going to be and what your role is going to be there forth. And one of the women stands up and she's crying and she says, I don't know how to explain it yet, but this exact moment feels like my soul has desired it long before I came here. I am Bia or Baya. And it's just like, that's the way to do it, is to introduce a trans lead.
Yeah.
And yes, John is correct. You can always count on Vita to lead the way. And considering that Vita is non-binary and that they are, the one that is making this confirmation statement that yes, trans women are women. I know I kind of cried a little bit, and like seeing that it's been confirmed just makes me really, really happy. So I loved this way more than I ever thought that I would. So if you were hesitant on picking up Nubia and the Amazons, please do. And that's the other thing I appreciated, is it felt like there were women of color on every page. And that's something that we see oftentimes happen with Themyscira and with the Amazons, is, again, sometimes it can be a little white. But in this, it's all women are women, and it's great. I like this book a lot.
Yeah.
This was definitely a surprise for me this week.
I agree. I'm really, especially thinking that comics are for everyone, but maybe not everyone has felt that way for a very long time. And I think that especially with some other news, and we didn't bring this up earlier, but maybe this can transition us into our next book that we talk about. But with Superman, Son of Kal-El, I think that there is this to maybe like this, people who are shouting like "Go woke, go broke," like Superman, Son of Kal-El. In the next issue, it's going to be confirmed that John Kent is queer, is bisexual, and going to go on a date. Which, seriously, from book one,
did I not call it from the beginning? Did I not say make him gay, you cowards?
From book one, like, seriously, the subtext has been there.
From fucking Adventures of the Super Sons, between him and Damien, it has been there. So anybody, listen, if you are saying, what the fuck, this is so left field, my question to you, my man, because I'm gonna be honest, you're probably a man, my question to you, do you even read fucking comic books?
Yeah.
Do you? Because it's been there black and white, and it's just...
Yeah. So this was a pretty good issue. There were moments like that, or sorry, let me kind of like backtrack a little bit. So the people who are like, what, Superman's gay now? That's not my Superman. Like, you can fuck off into the sun as far as I'm concerned. But also, it is not like Superman, which whatever, if Superman wants to be gay, he can be gay all over.
I hate to tell you.
Yeah.
Have you watched Public Enemies? They're fucking gay as shit, y'all. Sorry.
But it is Superman's son who is bisexual in this. And for those who are shouting the whole like DC is gonna go woke, go broke, like, just so you know, issue number 5 has seen absolute record sales. Pretty much issues 1 through 4 have completely sold out, and DC is going to do another second printing of all of them because they are selling so well. And do you know why that is? Because it's gay as fuck and people want to buy it. So
yeah, no, 100%.
Go woke and get all my money.
Go woke and get all my money. Yeah, no, that's a good one. So
I have to come up with a rhyming one. That's
Superman number 4. Superman number 4. All right, so this is the book that I'm choosing violence on, right? And here's why. Should I choose violence before or after?
in the middle. It could be a violent sandwich.
Violent sandwich, okay. Superman, son of Kal-El. We see, John Kent. He's at his grandparents' house. It's destroyed, and we learn that his I'm just gonna say future partner because it's already been spoiled.
Yeah.
His future partner has superpowers, y'all. And
how would you describe his superpowers? Because in this moment, Jonathan Kent is like sitting there at dinner with the fam, and then all of a sudden he like senses something, and he tries to get it's Jay. That's
yeah,
his.
Jay.
So he tries to get Jay, but then like
he
can't
phases
touch
through
it.
him.
Yeah, he phases through him. So like, how would you describe Jay's powers? What exactly is that?
Like Martian Manhunter, where you can phase through stuff. It's phasing power. Also, you know what? Go gay and I'll happily pay. Get woke or go broke. There's another one there, Jen. Get woke or go broke.
Well, no, that's what they're saying. These people are saying go woke, go broke. Oh, I guess if DC goes woke, I'll go broke because I'm buying all of it.
There you go.
I do like go gay and I'll happily pay. I'm there for that. Go buy and I'll buy.
There you go. But we gotta, you know what? Josue apparently just wants to talk about the elephant in the room. That's where my violence comes in, y'all. All right. I was very, very happy, very, very happy that Daniel D. Nicolo, who is the artist for Seven Secrets with Tom Taylor, which is my favorite indie book right now, is doing the artist as a guest artist on Superman, Son of Kal-El, #4. However, if we look on the cover here, who's not credited? Who the fuck is not credited? If you open it up, we get a credit for Daniel D. Nicolo on art, but he is not featured as a cover credit. And I'm sorry, if you're going to cover credit your cover artist, your writer, your colorist, why isn't your artist also fucking credited? So I think I'm just going to take a Sharpie and write D. Nicolo on it to make myself happy, because listen,
does D. Nicolo do conventions? Maybe you can just have him sign it.
I might. I believe that Daniel D. Nicolo is from somewhere in Europe, possibly Spain. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't believe that they are from the States. Okay. But Daniel D. Nicolo on fucking superhero art is like a match made in heaven. I need them on more superhero books. Their style is just fantastic, and I love it. And just read Seven Secrets already, y'all. Anyway, Superman, Man of Kal-El, or Son of Kal-El.
Man of Kal-El.
Son of Kal-El. All right. I almost started crying when I did a page turn and Wink and the Airy showed up to team up with John and Jay. Because if you've read Seven Secrets, if you've read Suicide Squad by Tom Taylor, you'll see that he introduced these characters, and one of them being the Airy is a non-binary character, and Tom Taylor for months has been like, oh, you haven't seen the end of the Wink and the Airy, and you haven't seen the end of the Unkillables. And I'm here like, Tom Taylor, where's my Unkillable spinoff title? But seeing them pop up in, I keep wanting to say seeing them pop up in Seven Secrets, because I look and I see the art of Seven Secrets and I'm immediately like, oh, Seven Secrets. I love seeing these two. I love the Unkillables. I love everything Tom Taylor does. I need more of this. I need more of the team up. I just love it. I love this book. I love my gay son and his gay boyfriend, or queer boyfriend.
Queer.
I'm gonna be honest. DC Comics, I've had a lot of really bad blood with them over the past.
Even though you love DC Comics, even though like you prefer DC over Marvel.
I have been very critical of DC over the past couple years. A lot of it being with their female representation. But within the past couple of months, we've seen the introduction of queer characters. We've seen Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy be confirmed as queer. We've seen the DC Pride issue. We've seen Harley Quinn, the Eat, Kill, Bang tour. We've seen,
other Batboy is queer.
We've seen other Batboys as queer. We've seen Tim Drake announced as queer. We've seen John Kent announced as bi. We've also seen, as I said, with the Suicide Squad, non-binary representation. With Nubia, we're seeing trans representation. DC Comics, y'all killing the game out there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a credit you when I can. I need Marvel to step their game up, because I always felt it was like the option. I always felt like it was Marvel coming through with the representation.
And I do feel like Marvel has, especially with X-Men. I feel
Okay.
like X-Men is the queerest, and I love it because we've got our boy Dakin. I mean, Mystique, Destiny, like, anyways, Iceman. But I do think that, especially when it comes to confirmation of it, I think, where sometimes like Mystique and Destiny have always been subtext, where this is like, nope, we're going to show two dudes kissing.
Yeah. No, and I
two dudes kissing, and I won't be missing. I'm going to come up with all the like anti-go woke go broke slogans.
It's gonna be great. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really proud. I'm really excited. I want to see more of it. I want this to become normality. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
That's
it will.
where I am.
One of the other books that I got, and of course I got it because I am a huge Rom V fan, but Catwoman, it's another Fear State title, so it feels a little bit out, but of course I had to get this. I'm not even like a huge fan of Harley Quinn, but this cover was
It's a good
beautiful.
cover.
It really is. It felt not necessarily weird coming into Catwoman, because we do get to see Harley Quinn show up, and that was kind of weird. But I thought this was a really fun issue. They're trying to get Poison Ivy, and of course the Gardener shows up, and I think the Gardener has been a really unique character, but I just want to see the Gardener like get their own series.
Ooh, yes. I think it should be like a team up book of like all the recent cool villains that we've seen. Like, I'll take a Punchline, Gardener, Miracle Molly. We'll throw Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy into it, and I think it should just be a fun, like, Gotham City.
I was just about to see Gotham
It would
City
be
Sirens.
fun to have a Gotham City Sirens title again, y'all.
It would
manifesting. Be. We're gonna manifest it. Here it comes. Here it comes. I need it.
Yeah.
So speaking of Catwoman, that was a very good segue.
Ooh, you're welcome. That wasn't even planned, y'all.
Very, very good segue. Y'all,
hold up, because I know that you said that you wanted to do that one last.
Oh, you have another one. Go ahead.
I do. I have 4 or 5 others.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put this down.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Batman 115. I'm not really even reading this, but I really like the cover because the Gardener and Poison Ivy are on there.
Good cover.
I did also buy this one. Anyways, I did buy Harley Quinn, this variant cover for the Eat, Bang, Kill. And also King Shark #2. I actually liked this one more than the first one.
Really?
And
the first one was really bad.
The first one was not very good. But there's this moment where I don't even know what it is, creeps up behind King Shark. Mm-hmm. And I sent you a panel. I sent you a shot.
And I totally forgot to respond to it.
No, that's okay. You were at the convention. You were totally busy. I'm just sitting at home like a fucking nerd reading comics, and you're at a convention hanging out with people, and I'm like, look at this cool shot in this comic. But there's this moment. Oh man, where is it? Where this thing like pulls up behind King Shark, and he's like, Big Daddy. I don't know. That's the most amusing.
I want that on a t-shirt. I need it on a t-shirt.
Big Daddy King Shark. So for no other panels with no context, like
panels with no context, we love it.
There was that. I did also get Peacekeeper, Batman Secret Files Peacekeeper. I didn't really. These are one shots. I didn't really enjoy this one, especially because I really, really, really enjoyed the Miracle Molly one, and then there was another one that came out that I really liked. So, now that I got all that out of the way, there was this one that came out.
All right. When this was announced, I was kind of like, oh, okay, Catwoman book, old lady Catwoman book. Catwoman books, I'm gonna be honest. All right, for fun fact for you guys, I'm a huge Catwoman fan. Like, listen, I have an entire filing cabinet dedicated just to Catwoman and dedicated to covers and features that she's been in. But if I'm being honest with you, good Catwoman stories are few and far between. This is a new DC Black Label original. I'm gonna say original graphic novel because they're just
Yeah.
oversized issues in a prestige format, but it's gonna be basically an original graphic novel. Featuring Catwoman, and it's done entirely by Cliff Chang. It is colored, lettered, artist, illustrated, written, writer, produced by Cliff Chang himself. And for those of
Stars.
you,
No, I'm just
stars,
kidding.
stars, Cliff Chang. And for those of you who
It's
don't
really
know,
just Cliff Chang running around in a Catwoman suit.
probably, but it's Cliff Chang, who did Paper Girls, did the Green Arrow Black Canary series. They're a fantastic creator. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. This is the definitive Catwoman story. This is gonna be the way that we talk about Superman, Son of Kal-El being that one Superman book
Ooh.
that we recommend. This is going to become that one Catwoman book that we recommend. So I actually found out this weekend because of Baltimore Comic-Con that this is supposedly set 20 years after the events of the Ed Brubaker Darwin Cook run. So a
Oh.
lot of people were wondering where this does fall in terms of continuity, in terms of timeline. And Cliff Chang confirmed this weekend at a panel in Baltimore this year that it is after the Ed Brubaker Darwin Cook run. That being said, you do not need to read anything. So the premise of it is, Catwoman, there was an event that happened. It was called the Fool's Night. Batman was killed, Joker was killed, Commissioner Gordon was killed, and Dick Grayson were killed. And Catwoman was sent to jail because it was believed that she was either involved or murdered them directly. So this book literally starts off with her getting out of prison, her dealing with the way that the world has changed, because now at this point superheroes costumes are outlawed. We see that Harvey Dent is now this reformed criminal and is actually the mayor of Gotham City. We see that Barbara Gordon is now a hardened older and I believe possibly queer woman, y'all, who is now running for mayorship as well. The Penguin is now like this multi-million-dollar biz whiz with an island and
Who's
casinos and
still a
offshore towns.
sleazebag.
Who's still a sleazebag. The world that Cliff Chang has dropped us into is so fucking incredible.
Can I just say there's moments, the way that world building is done is just excellent, because it's not like forced to you, it's not gimmicky, but there's moments when Catwoman, because like you said, she's been in prison for what, 20 years now, and she gets out of prison and she goes to like buy a she goes to like a Starbucks, she goes to a coffee shop, and she goes to buy a coffee and a scone, and it's like, what, it's $20? And she's like, man. And then it's like, well, she goes to pay and it's like, well, we only accept like D money or something like that. And the way that it sets up like this new world that she is now living in as like this older woman, I love this world building.
It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Like I said, it's the definitive Catwoman story. I think I want to go so far as say it's going to be one of those definitive Gotham stories,
Yeah.
or even Batman stories without even having Batman in it,
which is good, because I think that that's what we need. We need Gotham stories without Batman.
I agree, and it feels like this book tries to do what Future State failed to do, where it creates this weird sort of alternate universe. And I don't want to say regime, because in Future State it was fully forced as a regime, whereas in this it just happens to be this is the way that life is. But it's the idea that superheroes are banned in Gotham, and I think that this book does it 100% better. If you have any sort of hesitation on picking up this book, please pick it up. It is definitely the most gorgeous superhero book out there right now. It is vibrant and colorful. We have hues of pinks and purples, and it's just, I find myself flipping back through it and finding little things that I missed. And just, Cliff Chang doesn't tend to write a whole lot. He tends to just kind of, I don't want to say backseat, because it is a collaborative, it's a collaborative deal when you write a comic. But he tends to really focus on just being the artist on a book. Here he really shines, and it proves that, it's kind of like what Joelle Jones did for Catwoman, or what Joelle Jones did for Wonder Girl and Yara Flor. It's the same sort of deal please, if there's one book you're picking up this week, that's my seal of approval. 100%.
Yep.
It is going on the cool list.
I know that you said that this book does what Future State tried to do, but hear me out. This book does what Batman Catwoman tried to do, and I know
yes, 100%.
That's kind of rude to our boy Tom King, but in Batman Catwoman, you see the storyline that's in the future, and you see like
old lady Catwoman.
You see old lady Catwoman, who she wants to go kill the Joker because Batman is now dead, and it's doing the typical Tom King back and forth thing, but this one I feel like does that storyline and it does it justice. So I think this one was only supposed to be a 4-issue,
3 or 4
issue run. Mm-hmm.
This really does remind me of Daniel Warren Johnson's Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the books that really take advantage of being DC Black Label, of being in that prestige format, these are the 2 books that are doing it right now. So if you haven't already read Wonder Woman Dead Earth, I implore you to do so immediately. If you haven't already picked up Catwoman Lonely City, again, run to your local comic book shop.
Run.
I'm surprised.
After the show, you're allowed to leave and then run safely.
I'm honestly surprised that this book hasn't completely sold out and gone to a second printing, because everybody is talking about this book, and even before I read it, I was seeing the thoughts and the whispers that, you know, this is the definitive book, this is what is changing the game. And then upon reading it, I was like, yeah, no, it is.
Yeah.
So it's a good book.
Yeah. Batman Catwoman wishes it could be Lonely City. I agree. That's everything for DC, but we've got, I know I do. I don't know how much Marvel you've got, but I've got just a couple books from Marvel. Okay. I'm going to go through a couple of books that I have here.
Okay.
So Captain America, or the United States of Captain America, it finally finished issue 5 of a limited issues run. Basically, Captain America and Sam Wilson are trying to go through America, and they're trying to figure out like who's the bad guy, and then they go and they find all these other Captain Americas, and all these Captain Americas are doing the "No, I am Spartacus" thing. So we get to see multiple versions. This ends, and I thought it was really good. I think this one is a little bit underrated. It's definitely in the shadows of, I think, Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America run, but it was still excellent either way. So that ended. Let's see here. I have no clue what the fuck is going on with Thor. I will be very, very honest, but I bought this Thor cover just for Throg. Yeah, so apparently he does. Maybe I should be reading it because I'm like, oh, I bought the cover just for Throg, but maybe I should actually read it because Throg is in it. But I just thought this cover was really super cute, and I like our little puddle jumper guy. Let's see here. I know the book that you got, so I'm gonna. I know the book that you got, so I also got Phoenix Song Echo. I thought this was really fun. It was really good. So Echo gets the Phoenix Force, and so she's coming to terms with it, and she needs to she ends up, because she's an indigenous person, so she ends up going back to her reservation, and a lot of this has to do with her like who she is, where did she come from, and I think resolving maybe some trauma. I don't know, maybe that's me just projecting shit onto this, but I did enjoy this book a lot. So Echo gets the Phoenix Force. Yeah. The other book that I got, I actually didn't read this one yet, but Star Wars High Republic issue 10. Haven't read that one yet. And then Doctor Strange, The Death of Doctor Strange, number 2 came out. Not as good as issue 1, I think, but I think that the story is still pretty good. We do get to see like young Doctor Strange coming to terms with his death, and like, okay, trying to figure out what's going on. So, and this cover is just really, really cool.
It's very cool.
And then I have one book left, which I know is the only book. I know this is the only Marvel book you got.
Before everybody comes for me, Yes, I did pick up the Peach Momoko cover, but it is already framed and hanging on the wall. I was that quick with it, guys.
Yeah.
So, um,
This cover is beautiful.
it's the most gorgeous thing. First of all, okay, why is she on the cover? Because she's not in this series at all. I appreciate the art. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
This could have easily been like a 1 in 25 variant, and then I would have been, as the kids would say, absolutely fucked. But it was not. So I was very excited about that, but I'm still confused why she is on the cover.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
Maybe she'll make an appearance in the next one.
maybe. Jen, this book came for me. This book came for it did exactly what we thought it was going to do. It did exactly what we thought was going to happen. So in issue 2, we see that, Scarlet Witch falls from the sky, quite literally falls from the sky into the arms of Vision, and kisses him, and it literally picks up right there. And it starts off with I've been grieving my wife, and she goes, your wife. And as soon as we see that, I'm like, oh no, here we go.
Because here's with X-Men, like, I mean, I know that you know this, but like basically with X-Men that's going on is that people can be rebirthed from a previous backup. So she's been like rebirthed from a previous backup from
way before. So
yeah.
even before Giant Size Avengers. Yes, y'all, I know that. Look at me go. So where she has been pulled from time is, before Giant Size Avengers, before the wedding. But we also see it because, she meets up with Billy and with Tommy, and she doesn't recognize them. She's immediately referring to Magneto.
Like they see her and they're like, Mom, and there's this really like beautiful moment, and then she's like, who? Kids? What?
Who? And, we see her refer to Magneto in a very lovingly, term of, Daddy, what's going on? So we can
Daddy,
see,
what's going on? That's
Daddy,
how I refer to. That's exactly how I refer to Magneto as well. I'm like, Daddy, what's going on?
Same.
Yeah.
But we can see that obviously their relationship isn't strained at all, and it's very new. And, it's then that we get this beautiful page spread of, all of her memories coming back to her because she is given those memories. I don't know by who, because I don't recognize this character. So you might have to fill me in on that, but she's basically given, back all of the memories, the dark Scarlet Witch saga.
You're talking about the character that's all in white, right?
No, the character in red who touches her and gives her back her memories. And this is where, again, this issue made me cry completely. It's what I wanted from a series like this. But then I feel like our issue is broken up into this really weird, out of place kaiju saga fight.
Yes,
And
something happens where like all of a sudden like there's an attack, and because some of the Avengers are there, and of course like the X-Men are there, so of course they start attacking the kaiju that come up.
And my problem with this is this literally happens the page after Wanda's memories are given back. So I feel like any sort of emotional moment that we could have had, this could have been, this should have broken her. I'm sorry. If I was freshly reborn as a person, and then I was immediately given with, all of these memories of things that I had done and things that I had caused, I would have like broken down sobbing in tears or been angry and upset. And we didn't get that. And, I'm the type of person where I will take tender, emotional, gut-wrenching moments over action any day of the week. And unfortunately, we didn't get that here.
And especially because like then we get this in the middle of the book.
Spin the wheel. And I'm like,
why
oh,
couldn't
no.
So like that's what happens, and so like that I don't know, why have that in the book when you could have just given me 2 extra pages of actual content?
I'm totally okay with the weird spin the wheel, because if I'm being honest with you, because that comes after, our kaiju fighting and stuff like that. And when you're turning the page and you're sort of reading it and you're you know what you're expecting of a book like this, and then you turn that and you get this stark contrast of just this crazy, out of place, what the fuck. I literally turned the page and I gasped. And there's nothing really to gasp at, but
Yeah.
it felt like I suddenly was hit with this sense of dread that something is going wrong
Oh.
or something is happening that I'm not going to expect. And that's kind of what we got, because then we're sort of transported into this weird place. Wanda's speaking to this mysterious figure
Mhm.
about, you know, changing the past, becoming the only survivor, fighting, you know, everything to survive. And this whole conversation of life and rebirth. And spoiler alert,
Spoiler alert.
we're met with old lady Wanda at the end of the book. And it left me thinking there for a while of like, what are we going to see from issue 4?
Maybe we'll actually, to John's point, maybe we'll actually see Magneto on trial.
And that was actually a point that I brought up with my partner. Was, why is this book called Trial of Magneto when this is clearly a Scarlet Witch book? And
Ooh, Trial of Scarlet Witch.
well, no,
Please?
at first I posed to them that it should have been called The Life and Death of Scarlet Witch. And
Yeah.
they said that's too obvious. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
What if we called it The Rebirth of Scarlet Witch or something like that?
Yeah. The many deaths of Scarlet Witch.
The many deaths of Scarlet Witch, of Wanda Maximoff. Because that's what what this book feels like it's doing, is it feels like it's trying to not necessarily right all of her wrongs that she's done in the past. It definitely does feel like it's trying to reset a clock on her. As somebody who very recently have been binging every Scarlet Witch piece that I can get, I would not be surprised if after Trial of Magneto, Birth of Scarlet Witch, Resurrection of Scarlet Witch, whatever you want to call it, I would not be surprised if this is setting up for a solo series for her again.
I agree, because we really don't know what's going to happen after this. Like, Hickman's leaving, and I think that there's maybe a couple things that we know are going to happen in the Marvel universe, and I think that they're focusing a lot on alternative stories, right? Like, they're doing Amazing Fantasy, which I think is about to end, and they're also doing Dark Ages, and there's going to be another one coming up soon that looks like a kind of steampunk. So I think that they are maybe setting up for that. I would love to see a solo Scarlet Witch series, and even if it's like a mini series, I'd be like, take all my money.
It's just surprising with the popularity and success that we've seen of WandaVision.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing a Kate Bishop Hawkeye series. We saw a Falcon Winter Soldier series. You know, there's obviously things planned for these characters to kind of connect them with the popularity and success. So we'll see what's going on.
Yep. Well, that's all the Marvel books that I have. And I know that's all the Marvel books that you have.
It's the only one I care about, okay? Moon Knight got delayed. What more do you want from me?
Yeah. I've got a couple indies, though.
So do I. A couple indies.
I know that you... I know I'll go ahead and bring this one up, because I know that you really, really like this... I got My Little Pony Generations.
Is it just straight up My Little Pony, or is it Transformers My Little Pony?
It is not Transformers My Little Pony. It's actually just it's just the ponies. But apparently there's I really don't know too much about My Little Pony lore, and seriously, I bought...
Do you want to?
Not, I mean, I'm very open-minded. And I was very unopen-minded about My Little Pony, and then I read My Little Pony Transformers, and I'm like, this story is actually really great. But apparently there's these two people who have a grudge with the ponies, and they are like two goth girls, I guess. And so they're like, they're basically the team Rocket of My Little Ponies.
Ooh.
And so they're like, oh man, our plans got foiled again. And they even like bake a pizza with like an like crossed out pony thing. Because they're serious and they mean business. Anti-ponies. And then they're like, well, what are we gonna do to we really need to get them. And so then they turn themselves into ponies. Spoiler alert. So
Spoiler alert.
that was My Little Pony Generations, and I have no clue anything else about this. So there you go.
Very exciting.
Yeah. What indie books?
How do I follow up with My Little Ponies?
How do you? Yeah.
I don't know how I follow up with My Little Ponies. Let me just pick. Like, you know what? I got a lot of stuff to say about this one.
Ooh.
Last week,
okay,
we saw the return of a very, very important book. Very important book made its return back to comic book shops near you. The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Ooh. Yep.
Number 9. Listen, y'all, it's been fucking 3 years. 3 years since we saw Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and I'm feeling a little bitter, okay? So I went on tangent a couple weeks ago, you know, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, you know, it wasn't canceled, but it was not actively being worked on anymore due to the success of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, who is the writer of the book, told fans, if you want to know what happens in the show, or if you want to know what happens in the comic, read the show. Watch the show. Watch the show. And then the show got canceled. Not only that, but for me, the show wasn't even that good. So I was a little bitter. However, I'm a sucker for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, so I had to pick it up. Finally read it this morning, and I'm still feeling a little bitter because part of me is like, yes, I'm excited. I'm dropped right into this creepy ass world. You know, Robert Hack's art literally fills me with complete dread. I love it. I need more of this. But then I don't think that issue 10 has even been solicited yet. And we're already into January for solicitation. So are we doing this again where we're having months of just no Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? And don't get me wrong, when the series first came out, same with Afterlife with Archie, it was even told that, you know, this wasn't going to follow a month-to-month sort of thing. It was probably going to be more like a bi-monthly type thing. And I was like, okay, understandable. But if I got to wait another 3 years for an issue, I think we're going to have a problem.
I would say tell me, like, put in the back of a book, like, put an advertisement to say, like, catch the next issue in, like, January 2022, the same month that Saga comes out.
Exactly. And it makes it a little difficult to read this because there were some things, I mean, they have a really great, you know, the retelling of everything, the story so far, which I really, really like. But the problem with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina is trade 1 only has issues 1 through 5 or 1 through 6. And then 7 and 8 are only in single issues. So if you don't have the single issues and you're only reading the trade to sort of like, oh, I'm going to read the trade to catch up with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, unless you picked up that oversized occult edition, which I'm not going to pick up because it has, you know, the images from the show on it, which I hate. First of all, any sort of DC Comics, Marvel does it a lot. You know, when you put your show or your movie as the cover instead of gorgeous artwork like this, we're going to have a problem, and I'm not going to pick it up.
It makes me think back to, I mean, like when books do that, whenever books get a re-release because there's been a movie adaptation. I mean, of course, like you tell me there's going to be a Dune book with like our boy Timothée Chalamet on it and Jason Momoa and Josh Brolin. Like, of course and Oscar Isaac. Of course I'll buy a Dune book with that on the cover. But I agree. Whenever comics do it, it just always feels out of place. Like,
it rubs me the
give
wrong
me
way.
drawings.
Give me beautiful art. So in this book, you know, Harvey Kinkle has died. He's been sacrificed to the witches. In doing so, Sabrina's evil father has gone into his body,
which is kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. He kills his own mom, so I'm like, so what the fuck? But things get a little weirder, and there's a part in this book that I read, and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm very uncomfortable by this.
Is it how DTF Harvey Kinkle is?
It's not just how DTF Harvey Kinkle is. It's the fact that Harvey Kinkle, who is a teenage boy, but is actually a 40 or 50-year-old man, goes and fucks a student like it's no problem. I've got a little bit of issues with that. I was reading that, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just two teenagers doing the do. And then I'm like, wait a second. No, there's not.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. That part creeped me out a little bit, but I will say I really enjoyed the ending. So Sabrina has it in her head that if she kills somebody, then Harvey's soul can be reborn or whatever, and she can bring Harvey back. So
Yep.
she decides she's gonna go and kill this like serial killer and be like, okay, a soul for a soul, but it's a soul who's deserving of it. And when she gets there, all isn't what it seems. And you get this really cool like conversation between her and the killer and
Mhm.
something else that I won't spoil, but the ending of the book, I'm like, God, it just reminded me why I absolutely love this series.
Mhm.
So if you're a fan of it, definitely pick it up because it's in the same vein. If you haven't read any Sabrina, definitely pick up the first trade because again, probably one of the best horror books ever made. But this has a lot of repairing to do with our relationship. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say. You gotta win me back.
I think that, especially because there has been such a long hiatus, and it almost, I think that it's almost going to do what I think that the Game of Thrones book series is going to do, because there is such an infamously long gap between Game of Thrones books and then the Game of Thrones show ended up like following and like going at a certain pace, and then the pace was like, well, we're going to cover like 2 books in 1 season, and now we're just going to go absolutely past where the books have gone. And so I feel like that's almost what the show has done. Like I feel like the show, the characters have developed to a certain point. I didn't like the last season of Sabrina, however I did really like the first season, so I'll say that. But I feel like my brain is like, wait, what timeline are we in? Like that's what I'm kind of thinking with this book. So I really hope, maybe I need to go back and reread the first trade and then reread this. So
It's possible.
yeah. Really quick, I just want to say hello to our friend Travis TM Nerdy, who has player 2 has entered the chat. A new player. So thank you so much, Travis, for being here. You're one of my favorite people in the community. I know you know that, but okay. One of the other books that I got, I don't know if you got this one. It's Critical Role, and I don't actually watch Critical Role, but I know what it is. I have a really big kind of like crush on Matthew Mercer.
As we
Matt
all.
Mercer. And I don't know if she does Critical Role as well, or if she just does other stuff, but Satine Phoenix as well, like she's just gorgeous. But anyways, Matt Mercer wrote this, but it's Critical Role, Tales of Exandria. I liked it, but I felt like I needed to know more. Maybe I should go watch Critical Role, or maybe read some of the other books. But I got that. It was a beautiful book. The artwork inside this is just so beautifully detailed, and it's like fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty good.
Very fun.
Okay, so apparently I should listen to Adventure Zone. I have a really hard time listening to D&D podcast because it makes me jealous, because I miss playing D&D, and I feel like
I told you we need to set up a D&D show on the channel.
I agree. I 100% agree. So
Friends.
TBD.
TBD.
Let's get this done. To be TBD&D.
TBD&D. I love that.
To be D&D. So I would really love to do that. But I've read 1 or 2 Adventure Zone books, and they're pretty good. So, one of the other books that I have here, Harrow County #4. I do like that it's kind of like going off into the fairy folk, and it's getting a little, obviously it's a like pretty big horror book, but I've been enjoying it for the most part. What other indie books do you have?
Other indie books that I have. Eat the Rich, #3. Listen, I love this book. A lot of people are like, oh, it's exactly what I'm expecting it to be. #3 changed the fucking game, y'all. Did you get a chance to read
I
number
agree.
3?
I agree, because, and I think that was me, because at so for those of you who don't know, the premise of this Boom Studios book is that this young woman is like goes to meet her boyfriend's family, and he's supposed to be sober, and he's like, man, I'm gonna have a really hard time being around these people not drinking, and like, you know, they're my family, I love them, but then we find out that they have some like really weird rituals where they eat poor people that work for them. And at the end of the first book, it's like big reveal that the rich people eat the poor people. But then in issues 2 and then in 3, where you think that she is going to be more like disgusted and maybe like go against them, she's all in.
Yeah,
She's
in
like,
3 and in issue 2, we learn that these people are in agreement, that there's contracts, as long as we can eat you, we'll pay your medical bills, we'll make sure that your family is set up, but we're going to eat you. Is that okay? Okay.
yeah.
Issue 3, it's exactly what you say. The entire book is led up to, oh, she's going to find out and she's going to rebel against them and try to escape. And it only felt like it felt like it was like another retelling of the horror movie Ready or Not, which is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It follows a very similar premise. And then issue 3, we learn halfway through that she's like, fuck it. She's literally sold her soul to the devil, and she's like, I want the money, I want the power,
Yep.
I want the cute boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna adjust to the taste.
There's this moment with her and the mother, where the mother is basically saying to her, like, you're in it now, you can't leave, but not by force. You're gonna find that you can't get the taste out of your mouth. Like, you're not gonna be able to get this anywhere else. Like, you're gonna become like, all other food is not going to taste good to you until you've had poor person. Like, no other food will taste the same.
It definitely did that twist that it definitely did that twist that it needed, because I for sure did not expect that, our main character would be like, all right, I'm in it now. And now it's kind of like, well, what's going to be the outcome? Is she going to try to escape and rebel and possibly die? Or is she just going to kind of accept her fate? And we're going to see her kind of delve deeper into the awfulness, into the hardness. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm being honest with you, it almost seems like she's getting worse, but her partner, whose family this is getting better.
Yeah.
And he's starting to question things and starting to be like, no, maybe this isn't right. Or maybe that's the place we're going to go to.
Yeah.
I think that if you picked up the first issue and you're kind of like, oh, I like the concept, but I've seen it before, stick with it, because this is, I think, one of my new recent favorite horror comics. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this one.
And because I think that was me, where I'm like, it needed to push the boundaries a little bit more for me. Yeah. And I feel like it did that in issue 3. So Sarah Gailey, I think, the writer, they're doing a fantastic job. So really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go through some of the other books that I know that you don't have, because I think there's probably 2 more that you have.
I have 3.
Okay.
3 whole books.
I might be able to guess which ones those are, but I know that you don't have these 3. Sleeping Beauties. There's a moment where I started hating the series, but I feel like it's getting really, really good, and it's doing it for me. It's like The Walking Dead meets The Wilds meets, I don't know, like there's a sickness and only women get it, and maybe Why the Last Man-ish. I'm falling more and more in love with the series. I think this one, issue 7. And I'm really just liking this one. So would actually recommend picking up the first trade of that one if you can. Also, I think this one was mentioned, Stapled Spine mentioned this one, but Savage Hearts. I'm a really big fan of Aubrey Sitterson, and I just think it's weird. It keeps reminding me of ElfQuest, but in a weirder way, but without the my review of what's that other book, The Worst Dudes? Mm-hmm. Like, that book fucks. This one is more of a sweet lovemaking.
Okay.
I like this one.
They're companion pieces.
Yeah.
Aubrey Sitterson just they have a theme.
They've got a lot of, I think they have a lot of depth.
A lot of depth.
That's what I'm saying. Dune, y'all, just read Dune. I mean, this is the penultimate issue, so this one's issue 11 of a 12-issue run. I'm really hoping that after they finish Dune House Atreides, so this is Dune House Atreides. It's basically the prequel to the book, so we get to see Granddaddy Leto, and we also get to see some Duncan Idaho getting trained, and I really, really hope that after they do Dune House Atreides, I really, really want to see them do like Dune House Kynes and do like a Liet Kynes inspired book. So there we go for that. Okay, what were your 3 books? Because I have 3 more titles.
My 3 books. Speaking of Dark Horse, we have Killer Queens, number 3. Again, it's just very gay, very, very, very gay. The only issue I think I have with this book is there's a lot of action in this book, and I think that's where it kind of starts to falter. I think that this book really does drag me in and keep me, entertained when we're getting really like weird quips from Alex and from Max. I really like when we get these like funny queer jokes, and there's jokes about hand jobs and jokes about blow jobs.
Oh my
And then
god.
when we get thrown into just kind of like generic space action, I'm like, I'm bored. Give me more gay.
Yeah.
So, but I still
like, do you
really,
think
really
that
love this book.
do you wish that it, I mean, maybe it wouldn't do it because it's Dark Horse, maybe, but do you wish that it was more like Money Shot? Like, I want to see Money Shot Killer Queens.
Yes. Crossover. Let's do that. No, but I really like this. This, as you said, can't spell the
Penultimate.
Thank you, penultimate issue. So I'm actually really curious and confused, and I love that cover, by the way. But
I know, same.
Really curious and confused how they're gonna wrap this up with one issue.
Because in the end, so they just escaped prison in the end of the last issue, and so then they're on the run again, but then they're making this decision. They're like, do we save ourselves or do we save as many people as possible?
And do we join this rebellion?
So literally, like, they make that decision at the end of this issue. So then it's like, what's going to happen in the last issue to resolve all that? So I really want to see this as an ongoing series. Dark Horse, David Booher, please make this happen.
No, we need it.
Make it gay.
Other books that I had, because I know this one you definitely have, but Not All Robots number 3. This series is just, it's continuing to get weirder and weirder, and I am so like obsessed with the world that we've created here. Like, I can't stress enough, I want to see this adapted. This honestly would make for such a really fun, weird Netflix TV show.
Oh, it would.
And it's just, it's weird. It's these robots, and the way that this book ends, I'm like, I actually had to do like a double take. I'm like,
that was my face when I was like,
wait a second, what the fuck is going on? And it's just, and I love these covers. I love how weird but yet simple that these covers get. They're some of my absolute favorites, and they're definitely something where, like, if I wasn't already reading this, I would see it out there and I'd be like, huh, that's interesting, and I'd pick it up and, take it home. And Not All Robots, Upshot, AWA Upshot, I got to hang out with them this weekend at Baltimore Comic-Con, and we talked about Not All Robots, and I learned that there's some other really cool series that we can't talk about yet, but new series that are coming out that seem right up our alley. So I'm really excited to see what else we see from them in 2022.
So this book, issue 3, and I think that this one's going to be 4 or 5 issues, like it was another limited series perhaps. And so the whole like point of this book is that the robot apocalypse has come. The robot overlord takeover has happened, and
well, we've helped them do it.
We helped them do it, and we did it because of capitalism, and because robots have literally taken like every job with the exception of like hairstylist, which I think made a funny kind of like point in this issue. So they're trying to figure out like so like robots have taken over the jobs, and in order to make it so that humans can still live in this world where like robots basically do everything and do all the work, is that every single family has been assigned a robot. And so there's this like love-hate relationship with a lot of the robots. And not only do robots like control the workforce, but they also control the media. And then there's this event where one robot kind of glitches and ends up killing everyone in the Orlando bubble. Rest in peace, Orlando. And then they're trying to figure out, well, was this an evil thing? What happened?
It was a terrorist attack.
Yeah. Was it like a one-off? And then because basically robots control the media, they control the narrative of like, oh, well, it's just a one-off. And then humans are starting to figure out, okay, maybe we shouldn't have robots. So then in this one, I feel like there's so much discussion of like how capitalism affects modern day stuff and how it will affect us in the future, and the workforce and people living. And so then the robots, which have basically replaced the human traditional workforce, they get replaced by mandroids. And to me, this also had echoes of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the book that Blade Runner was based off of. And in the book, it's more discussed about how rich people in the Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep universe, how rich people can get real animals, but then there are some robot animals that look so real that you can't tell the difference. So like there's this conversation about like capitalism and class and society and things like that. So then basically in this book, all of the robots get replaced by mandroids or androids, and that's where there's this thing that happens at the end that is just, it's so clever and it's just so funny. I would highly, 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 highly recommend this book, please.
100%. It's a very good book. This is a book that I almost missed out on, and then you talked about issue 1, and I was like, all right, I'll pick it up, and I read it some weeks later. I think it was like the week of issue 2 coming out, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. I am so glad I was able to jump onto this one, because it's got a lot of conversation pieces in it that I think are going to transcend and kind of like echo into our future, possibly.
I agree. Well, I've got one last book. I don't know what last book you have.
It's probably the same last book that you have. No, it is not. Wait.
I didn't get that book. So I think that there was something that happened on this coast because none of the shops in my area got that book. I know that Dan, he's in Florida, he didn't get that book either. And I'm really upset. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to talk about this one really quick. Issue number 2 of Ma. It's basically like traumatic events happen to a woman, as they often do, but then does that give her power? So she's facing that. She's also facing this like power that she's getting, while also facing this like toxic positivity of like this cult. And issue 2, where I had reservations about issue 1, issue 2 kind of like sold the book for me. So I really appreciate. Yeah. Yep. I liked this one a lot. And this one also is one of those books that say trans women are women. So even just for that, I would
two in 1 week, y'all. 2 in 1 week.
Equality.
Equality.
Okay, so please tell me all the things about that book without spoiling it, because I want that book so bad.
All right, Nita Hawk's Nightmare blog. This is a spinoff of Philadelphia, where we are now in Baltimore. Ironic. I was there this weekend. So you can read this book without reading Philadelphia, without knowing anything about Philadelphia. There are a couple of things here and there that they sprinkle, like a couple of name drops, where if you've read Philadelphia, you're like, oh, wait, I recognize this name. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to explain this book. It is very fucking strange.
Does the title explain it at all? Because I feel like...
A little bit. So we definitely have demons and Cthulhu monsters and everything but vampires. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
The way that this book is shaping up, because it definitely leads on a cliffhanger that is a continuation, and there's a lot of setup in this book. Personally, I wish that it was more of an anthology type series, because it's called Nita Hawk's Nightmare blog, and in the first issue we see multiple different types of nightmares. I won't go into what they are, because a lot of them are very just, you gotta see it to believe it. But I kind of wish that each issue was its own little self-contained story, and each one was kind of like a blog post, if you will. Because we kind of see that, and maybe that's what they're trying to do, but maybe they're trying to do it with like 2 to 3 issues instead of 1. But I mean, it's standard Rodney Barnes. And when I say that, I don't say that as a bad thing. I say that as this is a continued success from Philadelphia. It is very good. You're going to absolutely love it. It's perfect horror, that we need. Whereas Philadelphia is like a horror historical type thing.
Yeah, and it's definitely about like family dynamics and like making peace with family dynamics
Making
as
peace with
well.
family. This book has some of those making peace with family dynamics. So there's something that happens in an element in this book that we see throughout it that I don't want to spoil, because when you find out what it is, you're kind of like, oh shit, what is going on? But this more so just feels like a straight up horror title. Think of maybe in the vein of like a Lovecraft Country type thing,
Ooh, yes.
which I really like, and part of me kind of prefers that over the history, even
Uh-huh.
though I really liked the history in Philadelphia. So I don't know. Both of these are really, really great. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh.
They're great.
Once again, I think that Rodney Barnes as a writer deserves a lot more love.
Rodney Barnes was in Annapolis this weekend, and I didn't go
I
to
saw
see
that.
him, and I'm so fucking upset, but I was so tired and I couldn't move.
Yeah.
But Rodney, I still love you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to say this because I'm going to put this out there and I really want to manifest it, but I really want to see Rodney Barnes do Swamp Thing. So hashtag Rodney Barnes for Swamp Thing, DC.
Rodney Barnes for Dead Man.
Ooh. I really think I want to see more from Rodney Barnes, and I'm really sad that I missed out on this issue. I hope I get a copy. This may be one of those books where I'm like, okay, I'll suck it up and just buy it digitally because it sounds so good.
It's a very good book.
That's pretty much like all the stuff that I have.
Stuff.
I know that I bought like some trades and things like that, but I won't get too much into that. Maybe I'll review what I read. Is there anything else that you wanted to show?
But I want to see your trades because I have a stack of trades.
Okay, let me get my stack of trades and I'll be right back.
She's gonna go get her stack of trades. Because as we all know, Jen has 1,000,001 freaking trades. I have 1,000,001 stack of trades. I'll wait to get more into that until when Jen comes back and I can kind of hear her rustling around out there. Jen, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. I can't see you, but I can definitely hear you.
Russia.
So while you're just here and you can kind of commentate, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, I attended Baltimore Comic-Con this weekend. I picked up some really, really great things. I won't share everything because I'm working on a very fun con vlog haul. So I don't want to spoil everything, but my favorite thing about Baltimore Comic-Con is there is a vendor there each and every year. I never know their name. I just know that they have a giant carpet out, but they have $5 trades. And I kind of went a little overboard. A little overboard. I bought tons and tons of trades. I'm gonna try and stack them all up here. Because I definitely pulled a Jen, guys. I definitely became Jen. Hold on, it's still going. Hold on. Ugh.
You make me so proud.
This is what hashtag dumb bitch money looks like. So everything you saw here, aside from like 1 or 2 books, was $5, and the 1 or 2 books that you see that weren't $5 are like $2 and like $4. So let's kind of show off how am I going to do this without dropping everything. Yeah. All right. 20XX from Image Comics. This was one that I was reading in single issues that I like had them all, but I didn't read them, but I was really liking this series. It's sci-fi. Jonathan Luna does really great sci-fi stuff, so I can't wait to read.
I picked that one up several months ago. Haven't read it, so if you end up reading that, please let me know.
Can't wait to read the rest of it. Let me pull this out too because I was going to discuss that. New Mutants Volume 1, which isn't actually Volume 1 that we found out because New Mutants Volume 1 collects New Mutants 3, 4, 6, 8, and 12. And there's another New Mutants that collects 1, 2, 5, and 7. So, Marvel, if you could explain, Jonathan Hickman, if you could explain what the hell's going on here.
Maybe that's why it was $5 though, is because it's a printing error. I don't know.
I don't think so, because we tried to go down a rabbit hole of research into why this is, and we discovered that there is another New Mutants Volume 1 coming out by Vita Ayala, and that contains another bunch of sporadic issues. So if anybody has an insight with Marvel and knows what's going on with the Donna X New Mutants, please explain, because I don't know. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. We really liked the first issue. You liked the entire series. I never got to finish it, so it's one of the few Behemoth titles that I actually really like, so I'm excited about that. Haha Volume 1 for $5 fucking. This just came out. I've got a little bit of a glare going on. This just came out, so like it's kind of insane that I was able to get this for 5. This is a book that you always talk about.
I love Victor Laval is incredible, and he did Eve. I don't know if you were reading Eve, but that was a book that just ended.
He did Eve, so I'm very excited for that one because anytime you discuss a book and praise it as highly as you do, I'm like, oh shit, I got it.
Wait until you hear about a little book called HOXPOX.
Okay, that's where we might agree to disagree. Picked up We Live Volume 1 because again, it was $5 fucking, and this was one of my favorite series last year, so I'm really
And that
really
was one of
excited.
those hot series. Like that book could easily sell because that's like a $16 book. So like, how is it even $5?
$16 book. And yes, Travis, I have read Wicked and Divine. I've read up to volume like 5. Like I've never finished it, but I've gotten like a majority of the way through. I got a lot of feelings on that book that aren't exactly pleasant. It's a very confusing book. I need spark notes with that one. It eats what it eats what feeds it. From Scout Comics. I've actually had my eyes on this radar for a long time. Or my radar, I don't fucking know. I've wanted this book for a while, and I'm really excited that I finally have it.
Yeah, especially because that was kind of a sleeper hit with Scout, I think. Like the first issue blew up, and then with the way that Scout does their second issue, because like issue number 1 will come out, and then like 3 months later, issue 2 will come out. So they can be hard to get.
Hotel, which I immediately fucking am like, I want to sing the Hotel Hell theme song. Hotel Hell. Anyway, I watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay shit. That's my vice. This, when I put out for horror, like what kind of books do you like to read for horror? This popped up a lot in terms of recommendations from the Instagram community. So I saw this and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to trust what the people say. Now, the people also say that HOXPOX is good. So we'll see, people. We'll see.
That's another book. Hotel is one of those books that I never caught in single issues that I wish I had because it looks really good. So I might have to see if I can find that one too.
Bitterroot Volume 2. Very excited about this. I actually gave this up to somebody because they found Bitterroot Volume 1, saw my 2 sitting on a stack and was like, oh, do you have any others? Did you see any others? And I looked, couldn't find it. Gave it to them. Was like, you have Volume 1. Let me give you Volume 2. And then Greg surprised me with a copy of Bitterroot Volume 2. So this is a present from my dear friend Greg.
He went and beat that person up. He found that person, beat him up, and then was like, no, that's from Mars.
Greg, if that's the true story, I'm very disappointed in you, buddy. Olympia from Image Comics. This, there's a glare. Here we go. This is probably like one of my favorite Image comics ever. It unfortunately suffered with the pandemic because it was coming out right at the start of the pandemic. So the printings were off. People were not picking it up the way that they should have. Very fucking excited to read this in just one final sitting.
That's good.
Speaking of final sittings, the final volume of Sex Criminals, I'm very excited because I'm pretty behind. I think I stopped reading it Volume 3, but I have up to Volume 5, so now I have all 6 volumes, and
nice.
This is that's a special series if you haven't read it. Heathens Volume 3 for $5, rounding off my Heathens collection. I know I wasn't the happiest with the way it ended, but I love it enough that I want the entire series.
Yep.
Sex Castle by Kyle Starks. You were very excited about this one until I said that
I was like, how do I not know about Sex Castle? What is that one about?
Until I was like, it's just a homage to 80s action pulp goodness. But it's written by Kyle Starks, who did Assassination, which is probably one of my favorite Image titles. Sun Bakery. My partner found this one and it's just cute and it's fucking cool shit looking. I hope that this is another The New World, because that's how I felt with The New World, where I was like, I just like this style, and then it became one of my favorites. Soul Kiss, which this was a like wrapped book, so we know it's a little bit spicy. Demon Girl has to make a deal with the devil, or she just makes a deal with the devil and has to kiss people and suck their souls out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in. X-23 Volume 1, because I have Volume 2, but not Volume 1. Invisible Kingdom Volume 1, which I got for a total of $2 because there's a little ding in the corner. So a $20
can you show
book.
me the ding?
The ding?
Because like
there's the ding. Can you see the
that
ding?
Is That is nothing.
Here's a ding. $20 book for $2, y'all. Conventions are awesome.
Yeah.
I have two left. The last one is one you're going to be very upset about. Ophiuchus.
Officious?
Officious. It's very cute, very vibrant
Yeah.
pink. Reminds me of Steven Universe, even though I don't really watch Steven Universe, but
Oh,
I just think it's
Mars,
cute.
I need you to watch Steven Universe.
All right,
Like,
shut up. My partner has been trying to get me to watch Steven
please
Universe because
watch
it's their
Steven
favorite.
Universe. It's
God
my
damn it.
partner's favorite. I feel like,
are we just each other? Like, I'm you and you're me, and my partner's your partner, and
yeah.
oh, this is interesting. I love
Yeah.
this for us. We're
Yeah.
finding out new things every day.
Please watch Steven Universe, though. It's adorable.
I will watch Steven Universe. The last book I got, which you talked about last week, Party and Pray, which Jen, if you were here not last week, but 2 weeks ago, Jen went on a rant about Party and Pray and how much she loved it, but that she felt like it should not have been $18.
I just
when I saw it for $5, I had to buy it.
It was.
Why does yours look different?
Maybe that's why.
Oh, mine is a Kinokuniya Books exclusive variant cover.
So you're telling me I basically got the A cover for more expensive, and you got the cool variant cover. I actually really like this variant cover.
I like yours way better. And I actually was like, looking through, and I was like, is that the book? I was like, because it doesn't look like the book. And then I saw Steve Orlando and I saw Aftershock. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is the same book. But I found it for $5, and I felt really bad because you paid $18.
I did. 18 whole ass dollars. It was a good book, but it could have easily have been one of their like oversized books. Anyways, and what's so weird to me, so this book is basically about how an older gay man takes a younger gay man home from the gay club, and it turns into a, I don't know, like torture thing. So like it's a horror book, so there's like serial killer vibes in it. It's a pretty good, interesting book. I really enjoyed it, but it went by so fast, and I really did want more. But it's so funny because gay horror, also by Aftershock, also by the same damn creative team, pretty much, Steve Fox and Steve Orlando, different artists, did Rainbow Bridge about pets that die and going, and it's like a kid's book, which is so weird to me.
It was very weird.
Anyways,
very weird. But those are all the $5 trades that I picked up. So as you can tell by my packed bookcase here, I don't know where they're gonna go, but we're gonna find a home for them. And then the last thing I picked up that I wanted to share, because like I said, I don't want to show too much of the post haul.
Because you gotta go watch your video, so you better go like and subscribe.
But Artist Alley, I love always going through Artist Alley, and my eye was caught by this by Visibility #1. It is an anthology series of all of these different bisexual stories, and it's filled with all of these wonderful different artists. I was getting a glimpse of it. One of them looks like a cute little D&D type story. Can we flip through? But there's a lot of like different artists and styles, but each one is, centered around bisexuality and bisexuality visibility, which as somebody who is bi, we can kind of get forgotten in the queer community. Or we can kind of feel like we're on the outside. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, as the queer comic aunt, as the bi comic aunt, I had to have it. So I'm very excited about that. I'll definitely be featuring this more in the post-haul vlog BCC tour that I'll be doing. And of course, I'll be including all of the information. So very excited. This is like my favorite thing that I picked up because it's just a treasure.
That's so cool. I've got some trades that I got recently.
What'd you get?
But they were not $5.
They were not.
No, they were not $5. And some of these may have been from last week, and some of them are from this week. but I got painted. I almost didn't pick this one up, but basically this girl at school ends up like having her period at school and gets to be made fun of, but then she starts like a cult at school based on Bodhisattva, the
Budokai.
Celtic Budokai. So yeah, that happens. Um, did I feature this one? I feel like I did, but Marvel Meow. So it's basically a
No,
whole
you
bunch of
did not.
it's basically a whole bunch of like Marvel cats.
I want it. I need it.
Yeah, and the artwork style is like pretty simplistic with just like black, white, and one color. Yeah, so pretty cute. And then Helm Grey Castle, which I ended up getting the first issue of, where it's basically like Mayan D&D. So it's D&D instead of centered around like a white European like centric. It's more based on like people of color. And so not only is there a really cool story, but in the back of here there is a let me see here, like you get some stat sheets and like role-playing guide. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I'd love to do like, if we could do like comic D&D, because I know that like there's also the Vampire the Masquerade that did that recently this last year.
Did one.
Die that did one. So we could do that. Also, I ended up getting Black Hammer Visions. I'm a really big fan of Black Hammer, and I stopped at like issue 2 or 3. So then ended up picking up the big old hardcover that came out.
Now, is that the entire series?
Not for Black Hammer, just Black Hammer. Or yeah, Black Hammer Visions. Yeah. Yep. And then I also got, this one is spoiler alert, this one's probably going to make it on one of my favorite books of the year, Ultra Mega. It was ultra mega weird, and I absolutely loved this book. The artwork, James Herron, Dave Stewart. This book is just absolutely gruesome. Really big fan of it. So then these ones I actually got used, not for $5, but I didn't actually have these in my collection, but I got All New Wolverine Volume 1. So it's funny that you got X-23, and then I got Volume 3. They didn't have Volume 2 used, but I did get Volume 1 and Volume 3, so I'm happy for that.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, so that's pretty much everything I got.
It was a very exciting week. Very exciting week. I would say 2 weeks, but I feel like a bulk of the excitement came from this week alone, and I feel like next week is going to be equally as exciting.
There's a lot of stuff. I was going through the list, and there's a lot of stuff coming out that I'm really excited about. So if you haven't already done the whole like and subscribe thing, I know I'm supposed to say that more often, but like and subscribe,
comment, follow, hit that notification bell. Because we are live. We are here every Sunday, almost every Sunday, but we are here 90% of Sundays, typically at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 p.m. or I'm sorry, that's 9 a.m. Pacific time. 10. I'm bad with math. It's fine.
That's okay. 10 and 1.
10 and 1.
So 10 p.m., 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
1 p.m. Eastern. But we are here every Sunday for comics, chats, reviews, discussions, and violence.
Violence every
week. There was no violence this week.
There really wasn't. No.
It was a pleasant week.
62 Lefty Blues. I'm not reading Gun Honey. I've seen it. I've seen the covers, and I feel like it looks like very like crime pulpy. And then Manic. Basilisk returns next week. I feel like that one was that first issue came out and it was really hot, especially the variant cover for that, and never followed up with it. So
yeah.
Well, that's pretty much everything that I have. Hopefully, so everyone please go like and subscribe to Mars's channel as well, because like you said, you'll be dropping a video soon. Let us know in the comments, what you're most excited about.
Yeah, what you're most excited about, what you're reading, what you think we should be reading, what book that I should make Jen read since she's making me read HOXPOX. We got to get on that. I'm thinking I want to say Green Arrow, but I feel like that's too simple. I need something bigger. If I'm
Yeah.
reading this big, massive bulk that is HOXPOX, I need something substantial to go
Like I need to
alongside
be
it.
like borderline tortured by the book.
Borderline tortured. Is that what I'm being? Is I'm being borderline tortured by HOXPOX? Because that is
By the way you
accurate.
talk about it, yeah.
It's very accurate. Very accurate.
Okay. Well, in the comments, let us know what book you want me to be tortured by reading. But joke's on all of you. I'll probably enjoy the fuck out of it if I'm like, I'm just going to pick up My Little Pony Transformers on a whim. Your girl can't be tortured. So, Dan, joke's on you. I am actually kind of reading Supergirl and kind of enjoying it, but I am a little bit tortured by it. So, you know.
We'll find something.
We'll find something. Okay. Well, everyone, I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I hope you do good things. I hope you read good and fun books. And we will see you
next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.